I've struck out on my own again, crossing the remote desert border between Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan. I've entered a country wholly unknown to me. Very few tourists visit Turkmenistan, so it's hard to know what to expect. In the northeast of the country, there are ruins of the ancient city of Konya-Urgench, which was once an important city in the Islamic world. Unlike the magnificently restored monuments in Uzbekistan, this site remains largely untouched. The huge minaret was built 700 years ago during Timur's reign, and it's still the tallest in Central Asia. Most of the city is still buried under the sand. It's all very Ozymandian. Earlier in the day, I walked across the Hojele border and was picked up by my pre-arranged driver, Mr. Dima. Central Asia is a bit of a mystery to most people, so here's a visual recap of my route over the past few weeks. Starting in Kashgar in western China, I traveled to Osh in Kyrgyzstan, then to Tashkent, the capital of Uzbekistan. I then took a tour bus to Samarkand, Bukhara, and Khiva, and finally to the provincial city of Nukus. There I crossed into Turkmenistan. A few hours later, I'm deep in the Karakum Desert, the hottest and driest in Central Asia. For the first time on my trip, the landscape looks untouched by humans. Well, except for this giant flaming crater. They're Darvaza craters formed by accident when the Soviets were drilling for gas in the 1970s. They set it on fire assuming it would flare off in a few days, but decades later it's still going strong. They call it the doorway to hell. I can see why. I knew this was out here, but I did not expect anything like this. The next morning, we set out again across the desert. We stop in a rural village. It's very poor. I decline an offer to use the toilet. Mr. Dima buys me some camel milk, which they boil for hygiene reasons, because nobody here owns a refrigerator. It's against the law to drive a dirty car into the capital, so we have to make a pit stop by an irrigation canal for a quick car wash. When we enter the capital, I'm flabbergasted by the spectacle that unfolds before me. The poverty and decay of the desert are instantly replaced by gleaming white and gold buildings and wide tree-lined boulevards. They say that Ashgabat has the highest concentration of marble buildings in the world. Workers labor around the clock to keep the sand and dust at bay, and everywhere the sound of fountains fills the air. Oh, and look, they've even scaled up my papier-mâché globe. It's as if the lost city of Atlantis has risen again out of the sand, and then Las Vegas took over management. These men and women are participating in a mass outdoor dance lesson. For 15 years after independence from the Soviet Union, Turkmenistan was ruled by President Niyazov, a ruthless dictator who built one of the most pervasive personality cults of modern times. Many tall buildings display medallions of his profile, and every public square is dominated by a caped statue of this figure. Niyazov was so arrogant that he styled himself Turkmenbashi, leader of all Turkmen. His book of revisionist history and personal thoughts, the so-called Holy Runama, is required reading for all schoolchildren. He topped the towering Arch of Neutrality with a 12-meter-tall polished gold statue of himself. I wonder whether the rich elite of Ashgabat know the fragility of the white marble paradise that insulates them from the advancing desert. What will happen here when the oil money runs out? It's something I ponder as I continue west towards Iran.